Hey guys, since September is National Jelly Roll Month, I thought that I would offer you 3 free jelly roll patterns on my website. Today, what I want to show you is how to go about making this particular one, which is super pretty. It's a beginner to intermediate level friendly. And honestly, what you see behind me, what you see on the table, this right here, it takes 1 jelly roll. That's 42 pieces of fabric in 1 pack. I did not use the rainbow colors that are here, but that's okay. The one that I used is more like this one here with lots of florals and pastels and blues and pretty colors that I like that are a little bit softer. When you go out to buy a jelly roll, you're going to get 42 pieces of fabric that all coordinate together, which is super exciting because it takes the thinking out of your design process. So what I want to show you are just a couple of steps that go into actually making this quilt back here. And you can see how mine turned out and how quick and easy it is. So the first thing that the pattern wants you to do is separate your jelly rolls or your jelly roll. You're going to make strip sets of 10, actually it's 4 strip sets of 10. And once you have that, then you're going to cut them down to size. The pattern is very clear about this, the finished size. They want it to be cut at 20.5 inches square. So you'll take your jelly roll strip set of 10 strips and you'll cut it down into 20.5 inch squares just like this. Now, once you have your squares cut, then you're going to layer them on top of each other. You're going to take 1 strip set and another strip set, 2 separate ones, and layer them on top of each other. But here's the trick. If you look, this strip set is running horizontally. If I flip it over and show you the strip set that it's paired with, you can see that it is running perpendicular to the one on the other side. So one is running horizontally and one is running vertically. That is a huge, huge detail that you need to make sure you pay attention to when you're making this pattern, because that is going to be how you end up with these stripes going in different directions. So you layer your blocks, your 20.5 inch blocks on top of each other, one vertically, one horizontally. And then, this kind of sounds weird, you're going to stitch 1/4 inch all the way around the block so that they are now connected to each other. The reason you want to do that is because your very next step is going to be to cut it on the diagonal, both diagonals, this side and this side. Okay, so let me go ahead and do that for you. So to cut our square in half, our block in half, what we're going to do is line up on the very corner with 1 ruler. In most cases, we don't have a ruler that's going to be long enough to stretch from one corner to the other. And so what you want to do is use 2 rulers if you can. It's okay if one of them is smaller. What you're just looking for is that straight edge. You find the corner on one end with 1 ruler and then butt the other ruler up against it so that it meets the far corner on the other side. That way you can make sure that the cut that you're about to make is actually straight. So I've made it straight. Let me go ahead and cut. When I get to this point, I'll butt up my ruler again and I'll move it up just like that. And you can see there I've cut all the way through, and I'm just going to finish cutting on that portion now. There we go. Okay, so at this point I'm going to tend to cutting this triangle in half. The pattern says that you can fold it in half and finger press in this corner to know exactly where your center is. That is one option. Okay, so I can see that's the finger press mark and that's the finger press mark there. I can then line up my ruler to make sure it's straight. Something else that I can do is find where my point is, that sewn point, and then use one of the lines on my ruler to follow that cut line that I just made. I know, because I finger pressed it and checked it, I know that this is the point where the crease was. And my line on the ruler follows the edge of the cut edge of my triangle. So I know that this is the center and I can cut. There you go. So I'm going to do that with the other triangle that I made. So now I have 4 triangles that I can work with. These 4 triangles will actually open up to be one block. Okay, so now the next step to the whole process is to press it. Now, when you originally put all your strip sets together, those 10 strips of Jelly Roll together, everything was pressed in one direction, which is great because it allows for everything to lay flat in that same direction. At this point, however, once I open it up, I need to press this seam. I'm going to press it in the same direction that these strips are going. I'm going to press it toward that solid piece of fabric, not pressing it toward all of the seams on this perpendicular side. I'm going to press it on the parallel side so that the seam just lays really flat. So I start by setting my seams. Then when I open it out, I'm not going to open and tug it to allow the seam allowance under here that I'm trying to press. I'm not going to tug on my fabric to cause that to turn under. I want to leave it so that my seam allowance still lays flat and doesn't want to move. Since it's flat, I can now use the edge of my iron to push it out, get my seam to be pressed nice and flat. Pressing is super important. It helps for your fabric to lay as its best, and it also helps when it comes to the whole quilting process. Okay, so now it's nice and flat and smooth and ready to be added to the quilt on the wall. Let me get the other ones done. So now we have all of our blocks pressed and ready to be put into the larger quilt back there. So as you can see, I'm just rearranging the blocks, trying to get a good balance of lights to dark. Everybody's Jelly Roll is going to be a little bit different, and so your layout is going to be a little bit different than mine is. But something that really helps, first of all, square up your blocks so that they're all the same size. As you're making this quilt, you might come across the fact that your strip sets of 10 Jelly Roll strips don't quite come out to be that 20.5 inches that the pattern calls for, but that's okay. Just make sure that all of the squares that you end up cutting cut at the same size. So if it comes out to be 19.5 instead of 20.5 because your Jelly Roll is cut a little bit wonky, or your seam allowance gets a little off sometimes, that's perfectly okay because the Jelly Roll quilt is very forgiving. So square up your blocks so that they're all a consistent size, and then toss them up on a design wall if you have the space. Being able to lay them out is a real help because you can step back from it and look to see how everything, how all your colors play together. Quick pro tip, if you don't have a design wall, no trouble. Lay them out on the floor, take a picture, and look to see how the colors balance out. That technique allows you to kind of get a bird's eye view, a step back away from your quilt so that you're able to really see what's going on. So once your squares are all squared up and you have your design space established, go ahead and play, rearrange, put them back together, and just have fun with it. And you know, like before I said, you can add some borders if you want to make it a little bit bigger. But the design is all up to you and what makes you happy. So that's it, guys. That's the whole quilt process. It goes together so quickly. You'll really be surprised. And you get a nice sized quilt. It's I think it's 57 inches square. And if you want it to be a little bit larger, you can always toss in some borders, bump it out a little bit larger. But it's super fun to make, and I hope that you guys do it. Remember, it's a free pattern to go with Jelly Roll Month. It is in my shop. Go and check it out and download that one and download the other two that I have, also quick and easy patterns. And while you're there, take some time to kind of peruse the jelly rolls that I have that are available. You can really make this pattern your own. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe below and click on this next video. I believe it's the Scrappy Hunter Star. Very fun quilt. You do not want to miss it. Bye for now. Happy quilting.